Introduction. The engine of the car was off, but the air inside felt heavy and hot. Maya sat in the dark, the only light coming from the glowing screen of her phone. It was 11:42 p.m. on a Tuesday. She had sent a simple text 6 hours ago. Hey, had a great time tonight. Want to do it again this weekend? The screen told a brutal story. 2 little blue check marks appeared next to the message. He had read it at 6:15 p.m. Since then, nothing. Not a word. Not even a typing bubble that vanished into thin air. Maya felt a familiar sharp pain in her chest. Her heart wasn't just beating, it was thumping against her ribs like a trapped bird. Her palms were sweating. She felt a desperate urge to type something else. She wanted to send a joke. Then she wanted to send a mean comment. Then she wanted to ask if he was okay. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. She was one tap away from sending a 10-paragraph message that would demand to know why he was being so cold. She was seconds away from driving to his apartment just to see if his lights were on. She almost did it. She almost hit send. She almost let the panic take the wheel. If she had, the relationship would have ended right there. He would have seen her as too much, and she would have felt like a failure. But in that split second, she dropped the phone. She gripped the steering wheel and took a shaky breath. She didn't send the text. She didn't drive to his house. That was a near miss. It was the moment Maya almost let her fear destroy her dignity. It was the moment she realized that her love life wasn't just unlucky. It was a pattern. She was caught in a loop that felt like a life or death struggle, even though she was just sitting in a parked car. The invisible rope. Most of us think love is about finding the right person. We think if we just meet the one, everything will be easy. But for many people, love feels like a constant game of tug-of-war. Imagine there is an invisible rope connecting you to the person you love. When you feel them pulling away, you grab the rope and pull as hard as you can. You want to bring them closer. You want to feel safe. But the harder you pull, the more the other person feels the tension. They feel like they are being dragged. So what do? They pull back. They lean away to keep from falling over. Or they just let go of the rope entirely, leaving you to fall backward into the dirt. This is the chase distance dance. It is exhausting. It makes you feel like you are always on high alert. You spend your days wondering why they haven't called. You spend your nights wondering if you said something wrong. You feel like you are too much for people, or you feel like the people you like are too cold. You might feel like your heart has a broken internal thermostat. A normal thermostat keeps a room at a comfortable temperature. But your internal one is stuck. For some, the thermostat is set to boil. You need constant heat, constant contact, and constant reassurance to feel okay. If the temperature drops even 1 degree, you panic. For others, the thermostat is set to freeze. If things get too warm or too close, you feel like you are suffocating. You have to open a window and get some distance just to breathe. Neither person is bad. Neither person is crazy. But when a boiler and a freezer get together, it creates a storm that never ends. The pain of being seen. If you are reading this, you probably know that pain. You know what it's like to check your phone 100 times a day. You know the drop in your stomach when someone cancels a plan. You know the feeling of wanting to run away the moment someone asks you how you really feel. It is lonely to be in a relationship that feels like a battlefield. You might feel ashamed. You might tell your friends you're just a bit anxious, when really you feel like your world is ending because a guy named Elias hasn't texted you back. You might feel like a cold fish because you can't seem to say "I love you" without feeling like you're losing your freedom. This book is for the people who are tired of the dance. It is for those who want to stop pulling on the rope and start building something solid. You are not broken. Your nervous system is just trying to protect you. It is using old maps to navigate a new world. Those maps were drawn a long time ago, likely when you were too young to even speak. They were meant to keep you safe, but now they are just keeping you lonely. The promise of a new way. By the time you finish these pages, you will not just understand why you do what you do. You will know how to stop. You will learn how to turn your internal thermostat to a steady, comfortable warm. You will learn how to stay calm when your partner needs space. You will learn how to ask for what you need without feeling like a beggar. You will learn how to let people in without feeling like you are giving up your soul. You are going to become securely anchored. This doesn't mean you will never feel afraid or annoyed. It means that when the waves of a relationship get choppy, you won't be tossed around like a piece of driftwood. You will have an anchor that holds you steady. You will be able to look at a read receipt and go to sleep without a second thought. You will be able to tell someone, "I need some alone time," without worrying that they will hate you. This isn't about tricks or dating hacks. This is about changing the way your brain and body react to intimacy. We are going to reprogram your nervous system. We are going to take the danger sign off of love and replace it with a welcome mat. Why this works? The ideas in this book are not just guesses. They are based on decades of science and real-world results. We will look at the work of experts who studied how humans bond. We will look at how our brains are wired for survival. We know now that the spark many people feel isn't always love. Often it is just our nervous system recognizing a familiar type of chaos. We can change that set point. We can teach your body that calm is better than crazy. We can move from a state of fight or flight into a state of connect and protect. You don't need to spend 10 years in therapy to start feeling better. You just need the right tools to find the space between what happens to you and how you react. Meet Maya. Maya is a 32-year-old architectural designer. She is very good at her job. She can look at a pile of steel and glass and see a skyscraper. She is organized, smart, and driven. People at work rely on her. She knows how to solve problems. But when it comes to her personal life, Maya feels like she's trying to build a house on quicksand. She is currently seeing a man named Elias. Elias is charming, quiet, and very independent. At first the spark was incredible. But lately, every time Maya tries to get closer, Elias takes a step back. If she asks to see him 2 nights in a row, he says he's busy with work. If she talks about the future, he changes the subject. This triggers something deep inside Maya. She becomes an emotional detective. She looks for clues in his Instagram posts. She analyzes the tone of his voice. She spends hours talking to her friends about what his last 3-word text really meant. Maya is an anxious attacher. She is the one pulling the rope. Elias is avoidant. He is the one leaning back. The more she pulls, the more he leans. They are stuck in the chase distance dance, and it is wearing them both out. Maya thinks if she can just be better or prettier or more patient, Elias will finally commit. She doesn't realize that her very attempt to fix the relationship is what's making Elias want to run. She also doesn't realize that she is attracted to Elias because he is distant. To her nervous system, distance feels like a challenge she has to win. Throughout this book, we will follow Maya as she learns to put down the rope. We will see her struggle, we will see her fail, and eventually we will see her build a bridge instead of a wall. The path ahead. Our journey together will move through 3 phases: understanding, rewiring, and mastering. First, we will explore why we crave what hurts us. We will look at the biology of attachment and why boring partners often feel unattractive to people who are used to chaos. You will see how your childhood thermostat was set and why you keep picking people who trigger your old wounds. Next, we will look at the 2 sides of the coin. We will dive deep into the anxious heart and the avoidant wall. You will see yourself and your partners in a whole new light. You will stop seeing your partner as a villain and start seeing them as someone who is also afraid. Then, we get to the work of change. We will learn how to find the space between a trigger and a reaction. You will learn physical techniques to calm your body when you feel a protest behavior coming on. We will talk about how to communicate in a way that doesn't start a fight. We will look at how to set boundaries that protect you without pushing others away. Finally, we will look at what mastery looks like. We will see how to become your own source of safety. You will learn how to build a relationship that has the strength and flexibility of a great bridge, something that can withstand the biggest storms without breaking. The chase distance dance is a hard way to live. It steals your sleep and your joy. But it is just a habit of the nervous system. And habits can be changed. You can move from a life of pulling to a life of connecting. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Why do we crave what hurts us? In the late 1990s, a man named Alex Honnold began climbing rocks. He didn't just climb them with ropes and safety gear. He practiced a style called free soloing, which means climbing giant granite walls with nothing but his hands and feet. If he slipped even an inch, he would fall to his death. Most people look at a 1,000-foot drop and feel a sick sense of terror. Their hearts race, their palms sweat, and their brains scream at them to get away. But when scientists put Alex in an MRI machine and showed him pictures of terrifying things, his brain barely reacted. His fear center stayed quiet. To feel anything at all, Alex needed to be on the edge of a cliff. Across the country, a woman named Maya sat in a dimly lit Italian restaurant. She wasn't hanging off a cliff, but her body felt like she was. She was waiting for a man named Elias. They had been seeing each other for 3 months, and those months felt like a roller coaster. One night Elias would be warm and tell her she was the most amazing woman he'd ever met. The next 3 days he would disappear, leaving her texts on read. As Maya sat there checking her watch for the 10th time, her heart was thumping against her ribs. Her hands were cold. She felt a strange, electric buzz in her chest. When Elias finally walked through the door 40 minutes late, he didn't apologize. He just flashed a charming smile and touched her shoulder. In that second, the terror vanished. It was replaced by a rush of relief so strong it felt like a drug. Maya told herself, "This is it. This is the spark. This is what true passion feels like." Alex Honnold and Maya seem to have nothing in common. One is a world-class athlete. The other is a successful architectural designer trying to find a boyfriend. But they are both driven by the same hidden pattern. Their bodies have been trained to mistake high-stress signals for feeling alive. Alex needs a mountain to feel a spark. Maya needs a man who might leave her at any moment. They aren't looking for danger. They are looking for a set point that feels familiar. The primal need for contact. In the 1950s, a scientist named Harry Harlow wanted to understand why we love the people we love. At the time, most doctors thought babies only loved their mothers because the mothers provided food. They thought love was just a thank you for a full stomach. Harlow didn't believe that. He thought there was something deeper, something more biological that drove us to connect. He set up a famous and heartbreaking study with rhesus monkeys. He took baby monkeys away from their real mothers and put them in cages with 2 fake mothers. One mother was made of cold, hard wire. She looked like a robot, but she held a bottle of milk. The other mother was made of soft, warm cloth. She looked cozy, but she had no food at all. If love was just about food, the babies would have spent all their time with the wire mother. But they didn't. The baby monkeys would run to the wire mother, drink the milk as fast as they could, and then immediately jump back to the cloth mother. They would cling to her, rub their faces against her, and sleep in her arms. When Harlow tried to scare the monkeys with a loud, clanking mechanical toy, they didn't run to the food. They ran to the cloth mother and held on for dear life. This proved that our need for contact comfort, the feeling of being held and safe, is more important than food itself. It is a survival instinct. We are wired to find a secure base. Without it, our nervous systems go into a state of total panic. But Harlow found something even more disturbing. In one version of the study, he created a mean cloth mother. This fake mother was designed to push the baby away. Sometimes she would shake violently. Other times, she would blow cold air, or even have blunt spikes that popped out of her chest to poke the baby. You might think the baby monkey would give up and find a new place to sleep. But the opposite happened. The more the mother hurt or pushed the baby away, the harder the baby monkey tried to climb back on. The baby would scream, cry, and wait for the mother to be still, then immediately grab hold again. The pain didn't make the baby leave. The pain made the baby crave the connection even more. This is the biological root of why we crave what hurts us. When the person we look to for safety becomes the source of our fear, our brain doesn't tell us to run away. It tells us to pull closer. We are like those baby monkeys, clinging to the very thing that is poking us, because the thought of being alone is even scarier than the pain of being hurt. The internal thermostat. Every person has an internal thermostat. Think about how the heater in your house works. You set it to 70 degrees. If the house gets too cold, the heater kicks on. If it gets too hot, the air conditioner starts. The system always tries to get back to that set point. Your nervous system has a set point for intimacy and love. This set point was programmed when you were very young, based on how your parents or caregivers treated you. You didn't choose your set point, it was handed to you. If you grew up in a home where love was steady, calm, and predictable, your thermostat is set to secure. You feel comfortable when things are peaceful. If a partner starts acting erratic or mean, your alarm goes off because the temperature is too high. You think this doesn't feel right, and you naturally move away. But many people grew up in homes where the temperature was constantly swinging. Maybe your parents were loving one minute and screaming the next. Maybe they were cold and distant, and you had to perform or cry to get them to notice you. For Maya, her father was the mean cloth mother. He was a brilliant man, but he was moody. When he was happy, he treated Maya like a princess. When he was stressed, he would ignore her for days. Maya learned that love felt like a knot in her stomach. She learned that to get affection, she had to chase it. She had to be perfect or quiet or extra helpful. Now, as an adult, Maya's internal thermostat is set to high intensity. When she meets a man who is kind, texts back immediately, and tells her exactly how he feels, she feels bored. To her, that feels like the heat has been turned off. It's too quiet. She mistakes a healthy, stable temperature for a lack of chemistry. But when she meets someone like Elias, someone who is inconsistent and hard to catch, her thermostat hits that familiar high stress mark. The anxiety she feels while waiting for his text feels like excitement. The relief she feels when he finally calls feels like true love. Her body is telling her, this is it. This is the temperature we're used to. She is mistaking the chemistry of chaos for a soulmate connection. The chemistry of chaos. To break the cycle, we have to understand what is actually happening inside the body when we chase someone who pulls away. It isn't just a psychological habit. It is a chemical storm. When a person we like pulls away, our brain perceives it as a threat to our survival. Remember the rhesus monkeys? To a mammal, abandonment equals death. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate goes up. Your focus narrows. You become obsessed with getting that person back, because your brain thinks you are literally in danger. Then when that person finally reaches out, a simple "hey, sorry I've been busy" text, your brain floods with dopamine. This is the reward chemical. It's the same chemical released when a gambler hits the jackpot on a slot machine. The contrast between the low, the anxiety, and the high, the relief, creates a powerful addiction. This is the invisible rope. On one end is the anxious partner, pulling as hard as they can to get close. On the other end is the avoidant partner, pulling away because they feel suffocated. The tension in that rope is what many people call passion. Maya's experience with Elias followed a predictable three-part framework. The high: in the beginning, Elias was all in. He sent dozens of texts. He planned elaborate dates. This set Maya's thermostat to a very high level of dopamine. The crash: once the chase was over for Elias, he felt a need for space. He stopped texting. He became vague about plans. Maya's body went into withdrawal. She felt the spikes of the wire mother. The craving to stop the pain of the crash, Maya began protest behaviors. She would text him repeatedly, check his Instagram stories, or drive by his house. She was pulling on the rope. When Elias finally gave her a small crumb of attention, the relief was so intense that it burned the pattern deeper into her brain. She began to believe that the pain was a necessary part of the love. She told her friends, "It's just so intense with us. We have this crazy connection." She didn't realize she was just addicted to the relief of the pain stopping. Seeing the walls. While Maya was pulling on the rope, Elias was building a wall. To understand the why behind the person who hurts us, we have to look at their thermostat too. Elias grew up in a house where his mother was very intrusive. She didn't let him have his own feelings or space. If he was sad, she made it about her. If he wanted to be alone, she called him selfish. To Elias, closeness felt like being trapped. It felt like disappearing. As an adult, his internal thermostat is set to cold. He feels safest when he is independent and self-reliant. When Maya tries to get close, his alarm system goes off. He doesn't see her love as a gift, he sees it as a demand. He pulls away not because he wants to hurt her, but because he is trying to save himself from being overwhelmed. This creates the anxious avoidant dance. The more Maya pulls, the more Elias feels crowded. The more Elias moves away, the more Maya feels abandoned. They are both using their survival strategies, but those strategies are making the other person's fear worse. Maya began to see that Elias wasn't a villain. He was just another monkey in a different kind of cage. He was reacting to his own spikes. But seeing this didn't mean she had to stay and be poked. It meant she could finally stop wondering what was wrong with her. She realized that her spark for Elias wasn't a sign that he was her person. It was a sign that he was triggering her oldest, deepest wounds. The spark was actually a warning light. Breaking the spell. If you are currently in a cycle where you feel like you are chasing someone, or if you feel like you keep picking people who aren't available, you aren't broken. You don't have bad taste. Your nervous system is simply doing what it was trained to do. It is seeking the familiar heat of the chaos you grew up with. The first step to changing your attachment style is to recognize that anxiety is not the same thing as love. For years, Maya thought that if she didn't feel that butterfly feeling in her stomach, there was no chemistry. Now she had to learn a difficult truth. For someone with an anxious attachment style, those butterflies are often just your body's way of saying, "Warning? This person is inconsistent." Real secure love often feels a bit boring at first to someone used to the roller coaster. It feels steady. It feels quiet. It feels like room temperature. Maya decided to try an experiment. She went on a date with a man named Leo. Leo was an architect too. He was kind. He told her he had a great time at the end of the night. He texted her the next morning to ask how her big presentation went. Maya's first instinct was to think, he's too nice. There's no spark. But then she stopped. She looked at her internal thermostat. She realized she wasn't bored, she was just calm. For the first time in years, her heart wasn't racing. Her palms weren't sweaty. She wasn't wondering when he would text back, because he already had. She realized that the spark she had been chasing with Elias was actually the feeling of her nervous system being on high alert. She had been addicted to the stress of love rather than the peace of it. The reframe: your body is not your enemy. Most books tell you that you need to fix your thoughts or improve your self-esteem to find love. But the real work happens in the nervous system. You cannot think your way out of a racing heart. You cannot logic your way out of the feeling of abandonment. These are primal, animal reactions. They are the baby monkey clinging to the cloth mother. The problem isn't that you crave what hurts you. The problem is that your body has labeled hurt as safety, because hurt is what you knew. Your body is actually trying to protect you by keeping you in a familiar environment. It thinks that if it stays in the known, even if the known is painful, it will survive. The unknown, even if the unknown is a healthy relationship, feels like a threat because it's different. When you feel that intense, obsessive pull towards someone who is distant, try to reframe it. Instead of saying, "I must really love them," try saying, "My nervous system is currently triggered. I am feeling a familiar pattern of stress, and my brain is calling it passion. I am not in love, I am in a state of alarm." This shift changes everything. It takes the power away from the other person and puts it back in your hands. You are no longer a victim of chemistry. You are an observer of your own biology. You are not weak for wanting someone who pulls away. You are simply a mammal looking for a secure base. The secret is learning that the secure base can't be found in someone who is constantly running. It has to be built inside your own skin first. Maya didn't leave Elias overnight. It took time. But every time he didn't text back, she stopped calling it the mystery of love. She started calling it the cold air of the wire mother. She began to see the spikes for what they were. She realized that she didn't need to be an extreme mountain climber like Alex Honnold. She didn't need to live on the edge of a cliff to feel alive. She could learn to love the feeling of solid ground. The goal isn't to find someone who gives you the most fire. The goal is to find someone who feels like home. And to do that, you have to be willing to let your internal thermostat cool down, even if it feels a little chilly at first. The chase distance dance only works if two people are pulling on the rope. The moment you realize the rope is actually a leash, you can choose to let go. You can walk away from the cliff. You can stop being the monkey clinging to the spikes, and start being the person who walks out of the cage and into the sun. Chapter 2: The Anxious Heart, Understanding the Need for Constant Connection. Is she coming back? Look at the clock. Not yet, Mary. Give it another 30 seconds. We need to see how he handles the stranger alone. Mary Ainsworth sat behind a large sheet of one-way glass in a small windowless room at Johns Hopkins University. On her lap was a clipboard. In her hand was a stopwatch. On the other side of the glass, a 1-year-old boy named Matthew sat on a colorful rug. He was surrounded by shiny trucks and plastic blocks, but he wasn't looking at them. His eyes were fixed on the heavy wooden door where his mother had disappeared just 2 minutes ago. A woman Matthew didn't know, the stranger, sat in a chair nearby. She tried to offer him a stuffed giraffe. Matthew didn't even blink. He let out a low, shaky whimper. The whimper quickly turned into a full-throated sob. He crawled toward the door and began to bang his small fists against the wood. "He's highly distressed," Mary whispered, her pen flying across the paper. "He isn't just upset. He's panicked." "Should we send the mother back in?" the assistant asked. "Wait," Mary said. "The reunion is the most important part. We need to see what he does when she returns. That is where the truth lives." A few moments later, the mother walked back into the room. This was the moment Mary Ainsworth had been waiting for. In a secure relationship, the baby would usually run to the mother, get a quick hug, calm down, and go back to playing with the trucks. But Matthew didn't do that. When his mother picked him up, Matthew screamed louder. He reached for her neck and hugged her tight, but at the same time he used his feet to kick her shins. He was desperate to be near her, yet he seemed angry that she had ever left. When she tried to set him down to show him a toy, he clung to her sweater so hard the fabric stretched. He wouldn't let go. He couldn't be calmed. Even though she was right there, he acted as if she were still miles away. Mary Ainsworth leaned back. She had seen this pattern before, not just in Baltimore, but years earlier in the small villages of Uganda. She called this behavior anxious ambivalent. Today, we simply call it anxious attachment. It is the heart of the person who feels they must pull on the rope as hard as they can, just to make sure someone is still at the other end. The birth of the attachment cry. Before Mary Ainsworth stepped into that observation room, most doctors thought babies only loved their mothers because the mothers provided food. They thought love was just a side effect of a full stomach. Mary suspected something deeper was happening. She believed that humans have a biological attachment system, an alarm in the brain that stays quiet as long as we feel safe and connected.